Turn-based games have this special way of pulling you in. You plan, you strategize, and every move counts. Today we're checking out the greatest turn-based games of all time. From classics that shape the genre to modern hits that keep you thinking, these are the games that make every decision feel epic. If you love strategy, planning, and that satisfying moment when a move finally works, you're in the right place.
In the dark days of centuries past,
XCOM UFO Defense. XCOM UFO Defense. Now this one is pure chaos wrapped in strategy. You start off thinking, okay, aliens are invading, I'll build some bases, get some soldiers, shoot some aliens. But no, from the first mission, the game is already messing with your head. You watch a rookie get turned into alien salad in like 5 seconds, and suddenly you realize this is not a friendly tutorial. It's life or death. Every choice matters, every decision has consequences, and the tension is non-stop. The thing about XCOM is that it's not just a strategy game, it's emotional warfare. You get attached to your soldiers, name them after your friends or random people, and then one mission, poof, they're gone forever. Permadeath isn't just a gimmick, it's brutal. You'll scream at the screen when a sniper gets vaporized or a rookie misses a one-in shot and dies. And somehow, that makes every victory feel massive. You're not just clearing a map, you're surviving, planning, and praying that RNG doesn't hate you this time. The strategy side is insane. You manage bases, research alien tech, handle finances, and deploy teams. Every layer of the game feels important. Do you research plasma weapons first, or focus on building interceptors to shoot down UFOs? Do you send your veterans on a high-risk mission or protect them for later? Every choice shapes how the war goes, and there's this constant tension because time is always moving, aliens are always striking, and one bad decision can snowball into disaster. And the missions themselves, man, the tension is real. You move a few squares, hold your breath, fire a shot, watch for overwatch, pray your soldier doesn't get mind controlled or vaporized. It's slow, methodical, and terrifying. Every map feels alive with threats, and you have to balance aggression with caution. One slip and it's game over for half your squad. But when it works, when your plan actually comes together and your soldiers survive, it feels incredible. Honestly, XCOM UFO Defense is one of those games that built an entire genre on how tense, strategic, and emotional turn-based games can be. It's punishing, clever, and makes you care about every tiny detail. You don't just play XCOM, you live it, sweat it, and sometimes cry over it. It's the kind of classic that makes you want to replay it over and over, despite knowing full well it's going to crush your rookies again. Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is not just a great turn-based game, it's honestly one of the greatest games ever made. It's the kind of game that took over the world and showed everyone just how amazing turn-based combat can be. It's based on Dungeons & Dragons, and that's why everything about it feels so incredibly epic and deep. The story is a masterpiece. You start out in a totally messed up situation with a gross little parasite called a Mind Flayer tadpole in your brain. This tadpole is supposed to turn you into a horrible monster, but it gives you cool powers instead. You have to go on a huge adventure with a whole party of awesome characters to figure out what's going on and stop this huge threat to the world. Every choice you make, big or small, has a real effect on the story. You can make friends or enemies, find love, or even betray people, and the story changes in a bunch of different ways depending on what you do. It feels less like a game and more like a real living, breathing world full of friendships and betrayals. The turn-based combat is where this game really shines. It's not just about taking turns and hitting an enemy, it's a huge sandbox of possibilities. You and your party take turns, and on each turn you can do so many things. You can use huge spells to cast a giant fireball, or you can use your wits. You can set a puddle of oil on fire, make a puddle of water electric, or even use your strength to push an enemy off a cliff. The game encourages you to be super creative and use the environment to win your fights. It's all about planning your moves and pulling off these crazy combos, which feels super rewarding. The world itself is massive and full of secrets to find. From dark, creepy caves to beautiful, sprawling cities, there is always something new to discover. You can spend hundreds of hours exploring every corner and finding new quests, cool gear, and hilarious conversations. This game is a giant, beautiful, turn-based adventure that is so good, it's one of the best games to ever come out. It's a must-play for sure, and an absolute perfect example of a turn-based game that's a true masterpiece. Fire Emblem, 3 Houses. Now this one hits differently. From the second you step onto that monastery campus, it feels like you're actually living there. You're Byleth, teaching one of 3 houses, and suddenly you're juggling classes, friendships, and the looming threat of war. The school life stuff is deceptively chill. You're talking to students, building bonds, learning skills, but every conversation actually matters. The kids remember how you treat them, and it can literally affect who fights at your side when war hits. You start caring about them like they're real people, not just game units. And then war hits, and oh man, the battles are intense. Turn-based, yes, but layered with so many choices. Positioning matters, weapon ranges matter. Every move feels like it could be the difference between someone surviving or not. And because you spend hours teaching, bonding, and understanding your students, every death stings. Permadeath is a thing if you want, so every choice in the classroom, every decision in battle weighs on you. You can't just brute force your way through. It's tactical, thoughtful, and emotional all at once. The story itself is massive. It starts feeling like a school sim, but slowly unravels into politics, betrayal, and war that's actually complicated. It's not just black and white, good versus evil. People have motives, everyone's flawed, and you start questioning who's really in the right. And Byleth, being kind of a silent-ish protagonist, actually works here, because you project into the role while still influencing outcomes in meaningful ways. Visually and orally, it's gorgeous. The monastery is huge, the battles are vibrant, and the character portraits are expressive. The music, epic when it needs to be, subtle when it's a personal moment, and the compositions stick with you long after the battle ends.
You keep what transpired at the tower to yourself. People would lose faith and the nobles should.
Final Fantasy Tactics. Final Fantasy Tactics is an absolute legend and a true masterpiece. It's one of those games that came out a long time ago and totally changed how people thought about turn-based games, and it's still considered one of the best of all time. It's not just a game, it's a deep, serious story that will stick with you forever. The story is what makes it so different from other Final Fantasy games. Instead of a big, happy adventure, it's a serious political drama about a massive war and all the betrayal and backstabbing that goes with it. You play as a noble-born hero named Ramza Bjolf, who gets caught up in this huge conflict called the War of the Lions. The story is full of deep themes about power, war, and doing what you think is right even when everyone is telling you you're wrong. The gameplay is what makes it a strategic masterpiece. It's a tactical, turn-based RPG, which means you fight on a battlefield that's a grid with different heights and obstacles. You have to think about where you move your characters, because being on higher ground can give you a big advantage, and you can hide behind walls to avoid enemy attacks. The fights are like a super complex game of chess. But the real magic is in the job system. This is what gives the game so much depth. You can change your character's jobs, like making a squire into a knight, an archer, or a wizard. As you use a job in battle, you earn points to unlock new abilities. What's so cool is that you can mix and match abilities from different jobs. You can take the healing spells from a white mage and give them to your powerful warrior, creating a character that's both a great fighter and a healer. This lets you build your team exactly how you want and come up with your own perfect strategy. Final Fantasy Tactics is a true classic because of its incredible story and its deep tactical gameplay. It's a game that showed the world how smart and satisfying a turn-based game could be. It's a must-play for anyone who loves strategy, and it's a game you will be so glad you finally experienced. Tactics Ogre, let us cling together. This game basically wrote the rulebook for a lot of tactical RPGs that came after it. It's an older game, but the new versions look and play amazing. The story is super deep and serious, not like a cartoon at all. It's a huge war story full of political drama and hard choices. You play as a young guy named Denim, who is caught right in the middle of a massive ethnic conflict. What's so cool is that the game is not just about good versus evil. It's about different groups who all believe they are doing the right thing, and you have to make some really tough moral decisions. The choices you make have a huge impact on the story. They can change what happens to your friends, who joins your army, and what ending you get. It's one of the few games where your choices really truly matter. The gameplay is a masterpiece of strategy. It's a tactical turn-based RPG where you move your army on a grid-based battlefield. Every move you make counts. You have to think about where you place your units, because being on high ground gives you a huge advantage. You can use archers on a cliff to rain down arrows, or put a knight in a narrow path to block the enemy. The game is all about using your brain to outsmart the other side. And look, the game has a super cool feature called the Wheel of Fortune. This lets you go back to certain points in the story and make different choices, so you can see all the different story paths without having to start the entire game over from the beginning. It's a brilliant idea that really respects your time and lets you explore the incredible story to its fullest. With tons of different classes for your characters and an endless amount of ways to build your army, this game is a true classic and a must-play for any fan of the genre. Divinity, Original Sin 2. On the surface, yeah, it's another fantasy RPG, elves, lizards, magic, swords, all that, but once you actually start playing, you realize every little thing matters. You're not just walking into fights, you're thinking about puddles, barrels, high ground, fire, poison clouds. It all changes how battles play out. You throw a fireball and suddenly the whole map is chaos. Or you accidentally poison your own party if you're not paying attention. It's messy, but in a clever way, because every fight feels like a puzzle with lots of different solutions. What really stands out is the freedom. You're never stuck doing things one way. You can sneak, talk, steal, teleport people off cliffs, or charm your way through problems. Sometimes the dumb solution is actually the smartest. That freedom extends to conversations too. Every party member has their own history-based games don't. And the characters, that's where it shines. You can make your own hero, sure, but the main characters, Thane, Sibyl, Los, they're so well written that you want to replay the game just to see their stories. Each one feels like the main character of their own story, and you can choose to help them, fight them, or betray them. It gets messy, but in a good way. The story itself isn't just good, it's huge. It dives into gods, souls, power, morality, and asks you who you are in this world. It's not just be good or evil. Choices feel meaningful, and there's rarely a right answer. You just deal with the consequences and keep going. And it looks great too. The art is colorful but grounded, the environments feel hand-painted, and the music fits the mood perfectly. One moment you're having a quiet, sad conversation, and the next you're in a wild battle with intense music blasting. It all works. Divinity Original Sin 2 is one of the best turn-based games out there. It's smart, flexible, emotional, and actually respects your choices. It can swallow hundreds of hours, and you won't regret a minute, because every session feels like a new story you're shaping. Jagged Alliance 2. Jagged Alliance 2 is kind of like the grizzled veteran of turn-based games. It's not shiny, it's not holding your hands, but man, it's got that old-school charm that makes you respect it the more you play. At first glance, it looks like just another tactical strategy game, but then you start digging in and realize this thing is way more hardcore than it lets on. The premise is simple. You're basically leading a squad of mercenaries to take back a fictional country from a corrupt regime. But the way it plays out, it's brutal, it's messy, and it feels almost too real. You're not just picking moves on a grid, you're managing every single merc's personality, morale, relationships, and even their paychecks. Some of these guys straight up don't like each other, and if you put them on the same squad too long, things get ugly. You're not just managing combat, you're managing egos. The combat itself is pure tension. Every bullet counts. Every move matters. You're constantly balancing stealth with aggression, deciding whether to take that risky shot or reposition and pray you don't get flanked. And the thing is, the game doesn't forgive mistakes. If you screw up, you pay for it, sometimes with half your squad. It's not a clean restart from checkpoint type deal. It's like, nope, deal with it. You lost your medic, good luck surviving now. That kind of ruthless design is what makes victories in Jagged Alliance 2 feel so damn rewarding. And I gotta talk about the mercenaries themselves. They're not just blank units with stats, they've got actual personalities. Some are hilarious, some are total jerks, some are straight up professionals, and you start forming attachments to them. Losing one in battle hits harder than you'd expect, because they've been cracking jokes or complaining about their paycheck for the last 20 hours and suddenly, bam, they're gone. It makes the whole thing feel personal. What really sets it apart though is how open it is. You can tackle missions however you want. Sneak in at night, set traps, go full Rambo, it's all valid. And the world itself reacts to your progress. You're liberating towns, recruiting allies, building momentum, and it feels like you're actually turning the tide of a war, step by step. It's one of those games that doesn't care if you're comfortable. It throws you into the deep end, and if you stick with it, you realize why it's such a cult classic. To this day, fans are still making mods and updates for it, because the core design is just that good. Jagged Alliance 2 isn't just a great turn-based game, it's one of the most immersive tactical experiences ever made. Jagged Alliance 2. Jagged Alliance 2 is kind of like the grizzled veteran of turn-based games. It's not shiny, it's not holding your hands, but man, it's got that old-school charm that makes you respect it the more you play. At first glance, it looks like just another tactical strategy game, but then you start digging in and realize this thing is way more hardcore than it lets on. The premise is simple. You're basically leading a squad of mercenaries to take back a fictional country from a corrupt regime. But the way it plays out, it's brutal, it's messy, and it feels almost too real. You're not just picking moves on a grid, you're managing every single merc's personality, morale, relationships, and even their paychecks. Some of these guys straight up don't like each other, and if you put them on the same squad too long, things get ugly. You're not just managing combat, you're managing egos. The combat itself is pure tension. Every bullet counts. Every move matters. You're constantly balancing stealth with aggression, deciding whether to take that risky shot or reposition and pray you don't get flanked. And the thing is, the game doesn't forgive mistakes. If you screw up, you pay for it, sometimes with half your squad. It's not a clean restart from checkpoint type deal. It's like, nope, deal with it. You lost your medic, good luck surviving now. That kind of ruthless design is what makes victories in Jagged Alliance 2 feel so damn rewarding. And I gotta talk about the mercenaries themselves. They're not just blank units with stats, they've got actual personalities. Some are hilarious, some are total jerks, some are straight up professionals, and you start forming attachments to them. Losing one in battle hits harder than you'd expect, because they've been cracking jokes or complaining about their paycheck for the last 20 hours and suddenly, bam, they're gone. It makes the whole thing feel personal. What really sets it apart though is how open it is. You can tackle missions however you want. Sneak in at night, set traps, go full Rambo, it's all valid. And the world itself reacts to your progress. You're liberating towns, recruiting allies, building momentum, and it feels like you're actually turning the tide of a war, step by step. It's one of those games that doesn't care if you're comfortable. It throws you into the deep end, and if you stick with it, you realize why it's such a cult classic. To this day, fans are still making mods and updates for it, because the core design is just that good. Jagged Alliance 2 isn't just a great turn-based game, it's one of the most immersive tactical experiences ever made.
Yes, I'm on it, sir.
Proves you don't need a huge, complicated game to make something incredible. It's from the same people who made the hit game FTL, Faster Than Light, and it has this super smart design that makes every single move feel important. The story is simple but really cool. You control a squad of giant robots called mechs, and your job is to save the last remaining human cities from giant alien bugs called the Vec. The most interesting part is that when you fail to save a timeline, you can send one of your pilots back in time to try again in a new timeline. This makes every loss feel like a lesson, and every victory feel like a huge success. You really feel like the last hope for humanity. The gameplay is what makes this game a masterpiece. It's a turn-based strategy puzzle game. The battles take place on a small grid, and you and the enemy take turns. But here's the genius part. You can see exactly where the enemy is going to attack on their next turn. This means the game isn't about guessing, it's about figuring out how to prevent the enemy from hitting the cities or your mechs. You have to push them out of the way, use fire or water to block them, or even make them hit each other. The goal isn't just to kill the enemies, it's to protect the city buildings that power your mechs. Every single turn is a new puzzle you have to solve. With a bunch of different mechs and a ton of special abilities, there are a million different ways to stop the aliens. The battles are short and tense, and when you finally figure out the perfect plan and manage to save every building, it feels so good. This game is a true classic because of its smart, focused design. It's a must-play for anyone who loves strategy games that make you use your brain, and it's a perfect example of a game that is a masterpiece because of its incredible design. Valkyria Chronicles. Valkyria Chronicles is such a different type of war game. You look at the cover and you think, oh, anime soldiers, maybe this is light stuff. But then you sit down with it and it's this mix of beauty and heartbreak. The whole thing looks like a watercolor painting come to life. Soft lines, sketchy textures, bright colors. But underneath that style, it's telling a story about people getting crushed under war. That contrast is what makes it hit so hard. The battles are not your usual turn-based click-and-watch style either. It's more hands-on. You're actually moving soldiers across the map, ducking behind sandbags, lining up shots with a rifle. It gives you that feeling like you're directing your own little war movie instead of just moving tokens around on a board. And every decision feels heavy, because messing up doesn't just mean losing a unit, it means losing somebody you've grown attached to. And that squad, man, the squad is where the game really gets you. Every soldier has quirks, like maybe one fights better when the sun's out, or another gets shaky around the opposite sex, or maybe one just straight up doesn't like working with someone else in the group. It sounds small, but it makes each of them feel alive. You start remembering them as people, not just game pieces. And the moment one of them falls and you can't get them out in time, it stings. That's when the game stops being just strategy and starts feeling personal. The story pulls the same trick. At first it feels kind of light, almost goofy at times, like a Saturday morning anime. You're chilling with your squad, you're laughing at little moments, everything feels fine. Then, the game suddenly throws a brick at you. Tragedy, sacrifice, betrayal, prejudice, all the ugly parts of war. You don't expect it from something that looks this soft and colorful, but that's what makes it work. The light moments keep you smiling, but the heavy moments stay with you long after you shut the game off. It's also one of those games that doesn't get nearly enough love. People who've played it will never stop talking about it, but a lot of folks just skipped past it because it looked too anime or too niche. And that's a shame, because it's one of the few games where strategy, storytelling, and style all come together so perfectly. Playing Valkyria Chronicles feels like living through a storybook about war that somehow manages to be both beautiful and brutal at the same time. It's not just another turn-based tactics game, it's one of those rare ones that hits your brain and your heart. Disgaea 5, Alliance of Vengeance. If you want a game that's all about being completely wild, crazy, and over the top, you've gotta talk about Disgaea 5, Alliance of Vengeance. The Disgaea series is known for being totally ridiculous, and this one is one of the best. It's not a super serious, deep story all the time, but the game is pure fun and it has an endless amount of stuff to do. The story is a parody of a serious anime, which is perfect. You follow a young demon named Kilia, who is a lone warrior trying to get revenge on a super evil demon emperor. He builds a whole army of heroes and weirdos, and the story is filled with hilarious jokes and a bunch of quirky characters. The whole thing is really funny and never takes itself too seriously. But the gameplay is the real reason it's on this list. It's a tactical turn-based RPG on a grid, but it has a bunch of insane twists. You can stack your characters on top of each other to make a tower and throw them across the map to get to a faraway enemy. You can also team up with your friends for special attacks that do insane damage. The best part is the damage numbers, which can go up to millions, billions, and even trillions. It's so satisfying to see these crazy numbers pop up on the screen. The game is a total grind fest, but in a good way. The whole point is to make your characters as strong as possible, and you can level them up to a ridiculous level of 9,999. The real magic is in the item world, which is a special place where you can go inside your weapons and armor to make them stronger. Every single item has its own randomly generated dungeon, and you can keep diving into them to level up your gear and your characters. You could literally spend hundreds of hours on this one game and still not do everything. Disgaea 5 is a true classic because of its goofy humor, endless content, and over-the-top gameplay. It's a game that knows exactly what it is and doesn't hold back. It's a must-play for anyone who loves turn-based games and wants to see how creative and funny the genre can be. Phantom Brave. Phantom Brave is a truly special game, and it's a total masterpiece that a lot of people missed. It's from the same company that made Disgaea, but it's a completely different kind of game. It's got a beautiful, emotional story and a unique turn-based combat system that stands out from everything else. The story is what will really grab you. You play as a sweet girl named Marona, who is an orphan that can talk to ghosts, or phantoms. Everyone on her island is scared of her because of this power, so she's pretty lonely. Her only true friend is a phantom named Ash, and together they work as chroma adventurers to help people. The story is about friendship and facing a world that doesn't understand you. It's a lot more heartfelt and serious than a lot of other games from the same company. Now for the gameplay, which is the most unique part. Unlike most turn-based games, there is no grid. You can move your characters around freely within a circle of movement, which gives you so much more freedom. The core of the combat is the confined system. You can't use your phantom allies all the time. Instead, Marona has to confine them to objects on the battlefield, like rocks, flowers, or even trees. The phantoms then come to life to fight, but only for a certain number of turns. You have to be smart about what object you use, because each one gives the phantom different bonuses, and you have to plan your attacks carefully before your allies disappear. This makes every battle a puzzle you have to solve. You have to figure out who to confine, what to confine them to, and when to do it. You can also create all sorts of different phantoms with a bunch of different jobs and abilities. It's an endless amount of fun making the perfect team and pulling off crazy combos. The art style is also gorgeous, with a soft, beautiful look that fits the story perfectly. Phantom Brave is a classic because it took a popular genre and totally changed the rules. Gears Tactics. Here's a game that took a super popular action series and turned it into a brilliant turn-based masterpiece. Gears Tactics is an amazing example of how to make a fast-paced, cover-based shooter work perfectly as a strategy game. It's a fairly recent game that a lot of people might have missed, and it's a total must-play for sure. The game is a prequel to the very first Gears of War, so it has that classic, gritty, and dark feel that the series is famous for. You play as a tough soldier named Gabe Diaz on a mission to hunt down a bad guy in the Locust Horde, which are the main bad guys of the series. The story is a super intense war adventure with all the tough talk and brutal action you'd expect from a Gears game. The gameplay is what makes it so awesome. It takes the cover-based shooting of the main series and turns it into a turn-based tactical game. The cool part is that it doesn't use a grid, so you can move your soldiers freely within a certain range. Instead of just one move and one attack, you have action points that you can use on your turn to do a bunch of different things, like moving to cover, throwing a grenade, and then shooting an enemy. It gives you a ton of freedom to plan out your turn and be creative. The best part of the game is the execution mechanic. When you knock an enemy down, you can send one of your soldiers to finish them off with a brutal execution. When you do this, all of your other characters get an extra action point to use on that turn. This makes the game feel super fast and gives you a reason to be aggressive and smart. You can do some really cool things by chaining these executions together. The game also has these epic, huge boss battles that feel like a real challenge. This game is a classic because it took a beloved action series and made it into a perfect strategy game that's all about thinking and planning your moves. It's a game that proves a great idea and smart design can make any kind of game work. It's a must-play for anyone who loves strategy or the Gears of War series.
Throwing a grenade!
Series and flips it on its head in a really smart way, XCOM Chimera Squad is the perfect one to talk about. It's a spin-off from the main XCOM games, so it's not just a copy. It's a fresh and cool experience that's great for both old fans and new players. It's a turn-based masterpiece that deserves a ton of love. The story is what makes it so unique. It takes place 5 years after the war is over in a city where humans and aliens are now trying to live together in peace. You play as a special police team called Chimera Squad, which is made up of both humans and aliens who used to be enemies. The whole game is a mystery, as you try to figure out who is causing chaos and trying to ruin the peace. The characters all have their own unique personalities and some fun dialogue, which makes the whole team feel like a family. The gameplay is where this game really changes things up. Every mission starts with a breach mode, where you get to plan out a crazy entrance into a room, like kicking down a door or going through a secret tunnel. You can have your characters do special actions as they enter, which gives you a huge advantage at the beginning of the fight. The biggest change, though, is the interleave turns. Instead of all of your soldiers going and then all the enemies, the turns are mixed up. Your characters and the enemies all take turns one by one, based on their speed. This makes the game feel super fast and gives you a new kind of puzzle to solve on every turn. Unlike the main XCOM games where you make your own soldiers, here you have a squad of pre-made heroes, each with their own unique special abilities. You can have a character with a super long tongue that can pull enemies close, or a big tough alien that can tank all the damage. This makes the game feel more like a superhero team-up, and it's so much fun to figure out how to use all their powers together. This game is a classic because it took a beloved genre and made it feel completely new and exciting. It's a must-play for sure.
Here in history, scientists have recorded radical changes to the permanent
Phoenix Point. Phoenix Point is a true legend for people who love turn-based games, especially because it was made by Julian Gollop, who is the guy who created the original XCOM. This game feels a lot like XCOM, but with a bunch of really cool new ideas that make it stand out as a masterpiece all its own. The story is a dark and scary sci-fi apocalypse. The world has been destroyed by a weird alien virus that came from the melting ice caps. It has turned all the creatures of the sea into these horrifying mutated monsters that are now trying to take over the land. You lead the Phoenix Project, which is a secret organization created to save humanity from total destruction. What's so cool about this game is that it's not just humans versus aliens. There are 3 different human factions with totally different ideas about how to save the world, and you have to decide who to help and who to fight. It's a complex war full of difficult choices that will change the whole story. The gameplay is where this game is a total genius. It has 2 parts, just like the old XCOM games. There's the world map where you manage your bases and research new technology. But then in battle, it gets really unique. It's a turn-based tactical game on a battlefield with cover and different heights. But instead of just a chance to hit an enemy, you can actually manually aim your shots. You can look down the barrel of your soldier's gun and shoot at a specific part of an enemy's body. If a monster has a huge gun on its arm, you can try to shoot the arm to break it and stop the monster from using its weapon. This makes the combat feel so much more personal and skillful. Another awesome thing is that the aliens will change and get stronger to counter your favorite strategies. If you keep using snipers, they might start growing armor on their heads to protect themselves. This forces you to always be thinking and changing your plan. The game is a total masterpiece because of its complex strategy, amazing story with meaningful choices, and its unique aiming system. It's a game that anyone who loves strategy games should play, and a perfect example of a game that really raised the bar for the genre.
Another day, another mission, risking our necks for the
Mutant Year Zero, Road to Eden. Now, this is a seriously cool one. Mutant Year Zero, Road to Eden is an awesome game that took the best parts of a turn-based strategy game and mixed them with a completely different kind of gameplay. It's a true masterpiece because it felt so new and fresh when it came out, and it's a perfect example of a game that deserves a lot more attention. The story is set in a post-apocalyptic world where all the humans are gone and the only ones left are mutants who are part animal and part human. You play as a team of stalkers trying to survive in the wasteland. Your first two characters are a walking, talking boar with an anger problem named Borman and a wisecracking duck with a crossbow named Dux. The whole story is about your team's adventure to find the legendary safe haven called Eden. It's a dark story, but the humor and personality of the characters make it really fun. The gameplay is what makes it so special. It's an awesome mix of two different things. When you're exploring the world, you move around in real time, so you can sneak through areas and set up the perfect ambush. You can split up your team to surround enemies or get to a good vantage point without them even knowing you're there. Then, once you attack, the game smoothly switches to a turn-based tactical combat system. This gives you a huge advantage if you're smart and patient. You can silently take out enemies on the edge of a group and then start the main fight with fewer enemies to deal with. The combat itself is all about using cover, height, and your unique mutant abilities. You can unlock crazy powers for your characters, like being able to charge at an enemy like a boar, or growing a set of moth wings to fly to a higher spot on the map. The game is really good at making you think about every single move, and when you pull off a perfect stealth ambush and a flawless victory, it feels amazing. Mutant Year Zero, Road to Eden is a true classic because of its unique blend of stealth and strategy, its cool world, and its memorable characters. It's a must-play for sure. Battletech. You want to know what it feels like to command a giant walking tank with enough firepower to level a city block? Well, that's what Battletech is all about, and it's a masterpiece that puts you right in that pilot seat. This isn't just a game, it's a detailed strategic war with giant robots, and it is a total classic for a reason. The game throws you into a huge sci-fi world full of drama and war. You're not just some hero. You're the leader of a small team of mercenary pilots trying to survive after a big betrayal. The story is so good, and it makes you feel like you're part of this huge, messy war between a bunch of different noble families. Every single mission feels like it matters because your team's life and your company's future depend on it. The gameplay is what makes this game a legend. The battles are turn-based, and when you see your heavy mech stomp onto the battlefield, you can literally feel the weight of it. You don't just click a button to shoot, you have to think about everything. Do you aim for the enemy's arm to knock out their weapons, or do you shoot at their legs to try and make them fall down? Every move you make, from where you position your mech to where you aim your lasers, has a huge impact on the fight. You can get a lucky shot and take out an enemy pilot in one hit, or you can get a missile volley to hit a weak spot and blow them to pieces. It's so satisfying. But the real best part is what happens between battles. You're not just a fighter, you're a business owner. You have to fix your broken mechs, hire new pilots, and choose which contracts to take on. You have to manage your money, and sometimes you have to take a really risky mission because it's the only one that will get you the money you need. It's that mix of being a commander and a business owner that makes this game so unbelievably deep and rewarding. Battletech is a true classic because of how detailed and strategic it is, and it's one you'll be glad you finally played. Dark Deity. Dark Deity is a game that is a total love letter to some of the classic turn-based games of the past, but it feels so fresh and new at the same time. It's an absolute gem that proves you don't need a huge budget to make a masterpiece. The story starts off like a classic epic fantasy. You follow a group of students at a military academy who get pulled into a giant war. The story is told through these super charming dialogue scenes, and the characters are so well written and funny. You'll get to know all of them as they grow, learn, and face tough choices. It's a game full of great moments, both serious and hilarious, and it makes you really care about your team. The gameplay is a classic turn-based tactical RPG on a grid, but it has some really cool twists. When your characters level up, they don't just get stronger. You get to choose how they grow and which new class they get to be, which gives you so much freedom to build your team exactly how you want. Another awesome part is that it doesn't have permanent death. So, when one of your characters gets defeated in battle, they don't die forever. They just get a grievous wound and are out for the rest of the fight. So you can be a lot more daring with your strategies. This makes the game more fun and less frustrating. You also get to build relationships between all of your characters in the game. When you have two characters fight next to each other, they get to know each other, and you'll unlock special conversations and abilities. This makes your team feel less like a group of fighters and more like a family. It's clear that the small team that made this game put their whole heart into it. The detailed art, the fun dialogue, and the smart gameplay all come together to make an unforgettable experience. Dark Deity is a true classic because it takes the best ideas of a genre and makes them even better. And it's a game you'll be so glad you finally played.
On the faraway continent of Norzelia, three mighty powers race and
Triangle Strategy. This is one of the most powerful and important games on this list. Triangle Strategy is not just another tactical RPG. It's a game that really proved that a deep, serious story with tons of choices can make a turn-based game a masterpiece. It looks so beautiful with its special HD 2D art style, but beneath that, it's a super smart game that will make you think about everything you do. The story is what will really get its hooks in you. It's a huge political drama about a war between three different nations all fighting over resources like salt and iron. You play as Sereno Wolffort, a young noble, and you get pulled into a huge conflict that forces you to make some of the hardest decisions ever. The whole game is built around these tough choices. The story can go down wildly different paths, and your decisions can lead to different endings and even make your companions leave you. It's a game where you really feel the weight of your choices, and it's a really powerful feeling. The gameplay is a classic turn-based tactical RPG on a grid, but it has some amazing new ideas. The combat is so satisfying. You get to use different characters with unique abilities, and you have to think about where you place them. You can get big damage bonuses by attacking enemies from behind, or by having two of your characters surround an enemy. You can also use the environment to your advantage, like setting fire to the ground or electrifying a puddle of water to shock enemies. The battles are tough, but when you pull off a perfect strategy, it feels like you've really earned the win. But the coolest part of the game is the scales of conviction. At different points in the story, your companions will vote on which path to take. You get to try and persuade them, and your choices throughout the whole game affect whether they listen to you. It's a tense moment every time, and it makes you feel like a real leader trying to get your friends to see your point of view.
With the powers in me. Oh no!
In the dark days of
Fell Seal, Arbiter's Mark. Have you ever played a game that felt like a secret you just discovered? A game made by people who poured their heart and soul into every single detail? That's what it feels like to play Fell Seal, Arbiter's Mark. It's a complete and total love letter to some of the classic turn-based games of the past, but it's not just a copy. It takes everything you loved about them and polishes it until it shines like a diamond. The story is a fun fantasy adventure with a lot more heart than you might think. You play as a member of a special group of enforcers called Arbiters, and you get pulled into a big conspiracy with your apprentice. The plot is full of twists and turns, and the characters are so charming and well written that you'll feel like you're right there with them on their epic journey. But the real magic is in the gameplay, especially the class system. It's a true masterpiece. You can make your characters learn abilities from a whole bunch of different jobs, and then you get to mix and match them to create your perfect team. Want a big, tough knight who can also use fire magic to set enemies on fire? You can make that happen. The possibilities feel endless, and it's so satisfying to see the crazy combinations you come up with actually work in a fight. You can spend hours just getting lost in the menus, perfecting your characters, and building the ultimate squad. And the whole thing is wrapped in this beautiful hand-drawn art style that makes every single battlefield look like a piece of art. The characters and enemies are all so detailed and the colors just pop. Fel's Seal, Arbiter's Mark is a complete gem because it takes a beloved style of game and makes it feel fresh and new without losing any of the strategic fun. It's the kind of game that gets every little thing right, and it's a must-play for sure.
You're so quick to run away. Perhaps you are a marauder after all. That's the
King's Bounty 2. Have you ever played a game that makes you feel like you're starring in a huge fantasy movie, where you're both the hero and the general of a massive army? That's what King's Bounty 2nd is all about. It's an awesome game that blends the best parts of a classic role-playing adventure with deep strategic battles in a way no other game really does. You start as a single hero, exploring a massive world filled with knights, magic, and political secrets. The world of Antara feels alive. You can wander through beautiful forests, talk to kings and common folk, and get caught up in a sweeping saga that's full of tough moral choices. Every decision you make has a real impact on your journey and how people see you. But the real incredible part of the game happens the second you get into a fight. The camera pulls back and you suddenly go from being a lone hero to a military commander on a battlefield. It's a turn-based tactical strategy game that takes place on a giant hexagonal grid. You have to command a living army of creatures that you've collected on your travels. We're talking about everything from grizzled knights and ghostly archers to fierce dragons and huge stone golems. You have to think about every single move, using the terrain to your advantage by placing your archers on a hill for a better shot, or sending your toughest units through a choke point. What makes this game so special is that it doesn't just do one thing well, it does both. The epic story and exploration are just as good as the deep and satisfying turn-based combat. The game proves that you don't have to choose between a good story and a smart battle system. It's a true classic because of how it perfectly blends those two ideas into one unforgettable adventure.
First, they shared their extraordinary technology with us.
Edge of Eternity.
The remaining nations
The first thing that hits you when you look at Edge of
Eternity
Eternity is how much it feels like a classic Japanese role-playing game from a different time, but with a whole new level of polish. This is a huge, sweeping adventure that was clearly a labor of love by its developers, and it's a game that every fan of the genre should experience.
Bravo.
The story is a
Really nice,
powerful,
gentlemen.
personal tale in a world that's being torn apart by a devastating war. You play as a soldier named Darion who decides to leave his army to go on a personal mission to find a cure for a terrible disease that's slowly turning his own sister into a monster. It's an adventure that feels both epic and very human. You'll meet a cast of characters who all have their own reasons for fighting, and you'll get wrapped up in a story with twists and turns that will keep you guessing. The gameplay is where this game really finds its own unique rhythm. It uses a turn-based combat system with a grid, so you have to move your characters around the battlefield and think about where you position them. Attacking an enemy from behind can do a lot more damage, and you have to be smart about using cover and objects to block incoming attacks. But the game also uses an active time battle system, which means characters can act as soon as their special bar fills up, making the fights feel faster and more exciting. You can set traps on the battlefield, blow up explosive barrels, and even use giant ballistas to take down enemies. It's an incredible combination of classic RPG style and modern tactical thinking. Everything about the game, from the beautiful world you get to explore on the back of your giant cat-like creature to the emotional story, feels so special. It's a game that proves you don't need a massive studio to make something that feels grand and unforgettable. Edge of Eternity is a true classic because it takes the heart of the games we grew up with and adds a whole new layer of strategy and beautiful visuals, making it a masterpiece that can stand proudly on its own.
You know how much I hate
Marvel's Midnight Suns. Marvel's Midnight Suns is not just a game with superheroes, it's a deep, strategic masterpiece that feels like you're playing a comic book that's come to life. And it was made by the same people who made the legendary XCOM games, so you know it's going to be good. The story is awesome and totally different from the movies. You play as the Hunter, a brand new hero you create, and you're brought back to life to lead a secret team of supernatural heroes. We're talking about heroes like Doctor Strange, Ghost Rider, Blade, and even Wolverine. You all have to team up at a secret base called the Abbey to stop the mother of all demons, Lilith, from ending the world. It's a huge, epic story that's filled with tons of awesome moments and crazy secrets. The gameplay is what makes this game so special. It's a brilliant mix of a turn-based tactical game and a card game. Each hero has their own deck of cards that represent their powers and moves. On your turn, you draw a few cards, and you have to figure out the best way to use them to take down the bad guys. But it's not just about playing cards. You can also move around the battlefield and use the environment to your advantage. You can knock an enemy off a roof, throw a chair at them, or even push them into a trap. It's a fun and active way to play a turn-based game, and pulling off a huge combo feels amazing. But here's the most surprising part of the game. When you're not in a fight, you get to hang out at the Abbey, which is your base. You can talk to all the different heroes, get to know them, and build real friendships with them. You can go on walks with Captain Marvel or talk about life with Doctor Strange. It makes all the heroes feel so real and adds a ton of heart to the game.
Let's go. Ravage them!
Persona 5 Royal. This game has a style unlike anything else out there. It's so confident and cool. During the day, you live a normal life as a high school student in modern-day Tokyo. You're an outcast and you have to prove yourself. So you go to class, you get a part-time job, and you hang out with friends. You build these relationships, which the game calls confidants. Spending time with people and learning their stories is a huge part of the game. It makes the world feel real. But here's the thing. At night, you and your friends become the Phantom Thieves of Hearts. You get to wear these awesome outfits and go into a completely twisted mental world. The game calls these places palaces, and they are like a boss's evil mind turned into a castle or a museum or a bank. Your job is to sneak through these places and fight the demons inside to change the heart of the person in the real world. The combat is turn-based, but it's really fast. It's a puzzle you solve with style. Each enemy has a weakness, and if you hit it, you get an extra turn. It's called the One More system. Hitting every enemy's weak spot lets you do a massive group attack that looks amazing. Your heroes don't just use regular attacks. They have special powers called personas, which are like masks you can summon to do magic. You can collect new personas from enemies and even combine them to make even stronger ones. The two parts of the game work together. Building relationships with your friends during the day actually gives you new abilities and makes you stronger for the fights at night. It all connects. It's a game that gets every little detail right, from the jazz music to the bold red and black colors. It's a huge adventure that will keep you busy for a long, long time. Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So honestly, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a turn-based RPG that feels like it was made for people who love a good story and a challenge. It's got this dark fantasy vibe mixed with Belle Epoque France, so it looks beautiful and feels a bit tragic. The whole premise is that every year, the paintress paints a number on her monolith, and anyone that age turns to smoke and fades away. You play as part of Expedition 33, trying to stop her before she paints 33 and erases everyone. The combat is where the game really stands out. It's turn-based but with real-time elements. You can dodge, parry, and counter in real time, making each fight feel intense and personal. There's also a free aim system for ranged attacks and quick-time events for skills, so timing and positioning really matter. It's not just about picking the right moves, it's about executing them well. The characters are another highlight. They're not just your typical RPG heroes, they've got depth and personality. You've got Gustav, the determined leader, Mael, the mysterious one, and a whole crew of unique individuals, each with their own backstory and motivations. As you progress, you learn more about them and their connections to the world and each other. The world building is top-notch too. The game doesn't dump a bunch of lore on you. Instead, it lets you piece things together through exploration and dialogue. You'll find clues about the paintress, the writers, and the nature of the world itself as you go. It's a bit like solving a mystery while you play. Visually, the game is stunning. The art direction is inspired by Belle Epoque France, with detailed environments and character designs that bring the world to life. The soundtrack complements this perfectly, with a mix of somber piano pieces and more energetic combat themes that match the mood of each scene.